Got a little scruff coming in. Gotta grow that beard out. Just kidding, I can't grow a beard. All right, in my early 20s, I was able to own 2 separate properties with no mortgage. And with those 2 properties, in my early 20s, I was able to own 2 properties without ever really having to pay a mortgage. Now, I was able to print money with these 2 properties through a technique called house hacking with a twist. Where normal house hacking is meant to subsidize or take away a big chunk of your mortgage, supercharged house hacking is meant to make a livable income off your property. Come here. You guys want to hear the secret of supercharged house hacking? It's really simple. Create insane equity and build several separate private living quarters. That's it. Boom, done. Video's over. You guys got the secret. Go out there, make millions. Go. I'm just kidding. Stay here, watch. I'll flush out the details here. But before I do, and just in case you don't understand, let me show you instead of telling you. This is 1 living space. Ignore the mess. This here is living space number 2, soon to be number 3, space number 4, and soon to be space number 5. Once upon a time, as adult Kai emerged from undergrad, I don't know why I'm speaking in third person, but essentially at that time in my early 20s, I was 21 when I left undergrad. I wasn't making a ton of money, but I knew I wanted to live comfortably and I wanted to live in a nice place. And at that time, mortgage was actually less than rent. And so I decided to go that route. But the real challenge of it all was I also wanted to make money, both from the appreciation, long-term, right? Slow, steady growth, but I wanted to make money fast. And that's when I came up with the solution of house hacking. Now, as a consultant for real estate, short-term rentals, long-term rentals, real estate, did I say that already? Glam sites, shipping containers, everything in between. I get a lot of clients who are first-time home buyers or first-time real estate investors wanting to dip their cute little toesies into the water of investing and branching out to make more money. And that's great, but the common misconception is that they want to buy a nice luxurious condo or vacation home or a second home and put it somewhere in a different state or different city and let that sit there and generate thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars each and every month while they sit at home in another state or another city reaping the profits and the money. Sorry to burst your bubble, but it doesn't work that way. Not in the beginning anyways. But whatever the strategy is for the vast majority of people out there, 95% plus of the folks, probably you watching this right now, I circle back to the time-old strategy. Is that how it goes? The time-old? The old time? The time-old strategy of house hacking. Now, what is house hacking exactly? It's what me and a lot of my colleagues here on YouTube do, kind of like Rob over that Rob Built channel, who coincidentally read my mind and decided to release a video on house hacking this week as well. Crazy. So if you get a chance, watch this one, finish it, watch it all the way through, and then go watch his, and then tell him that I'm right and he's wrong. Now, if you don't know, or maybe confused and heard it, but never really actually got a good definition of it, house hacking, what is it? House hacking is really simple. Basically, you buy or you rent or you somehow acquire a piece of property that has more rooms than you can fill, and then you rent out different portions of that house. And hopefully the rent from the roommates would offset a large majority and hopefully all of your mortgage. Now, this is the man, and he's one of my consulting clients that I worked with that I give a shout out to in the last video of last week. And at the ripe old age of 24 years old, he got into the right mindset and decided to do a supercharged version of house hacking, not just a 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 bedrooms with roommates, but he decided to buy this little gem here in his area. Now, when we first spoke, he wanted to buy the traditional home and rent out some spaces, and he was trying to think of what's the best way to really leverage his money. After talking to him and sharing this concept with him, he changed and altered his strategy a little bit and ultimately got this house here. Now, the really interesting thing about this is from our conversation, he ended up buying this single family home, which is actually zoned as a duplex, and it has a separate detached garage with a second story on it with plumbing and electrical already pre-wired and pre-plumbed, which we'll get to here in a little bit. Now, if you've been subbed to the channel for a while, by the way, you should definitely sub if you want to follow this project and you're one of the 85% that's watching this right now and who haven't subbed to the channel yet.
Do it.
is that you know that this is my personal property. Now, I probably won't ever rent out all 5 spaces. Like I said, I live here and I want to take advantage of it and I want my space. But the point is that I do have 5 separate, private, livable living quarters that I could rent out at any time. So why did I just show you this, and how does this apply to you and what you want to get done? Well, quite often people think that to successfully house hack is you find one piece of property and you cram as many people into it as possible to make a profit, or to at least make a wash on your mortgage. But instead of thinking of renting out rooms, I want you to think about renting out entire living quarters. The reason why is because, in theory, my house here could comfortably rent out to 5 different roommates, and that would be more than enough to pay my mortgage and taxes. However, by building several other structures or several different living areas, I actually increase the value of the property significantly, and I'll have a significant increase in my potential monthly rental income. So by now you're probably asking, well, what's the solution, Kai? What do I do? How do I get into this? Instead of buying a single family home that's ready to go with no work needed, buy a single family home that needs work but has the potential of 3 separate private living quarters. Huh? What do you mean? I know, that's probably what you're thinking right now, isn't it? Buy a single family home with a basement with at least 8-foot high ceilings and a separate or detached garage, ideally with 2 stories. Build out the basement nicely into 1 unit, and then convert the garage into an ADU as a second unit. And now you have the upstairs of the home, the main house, you have the downstairs, the basement, and you have the ADU, all as potential living areas that you can either long-term rent out or short-term rent out. That's your business decision, and you get to do what you want to do. The great thing about this is once you complete those, obviously permitted, is that you have increased the value of the property. And if you do it right, you actually will make a substantial amount in the equity side. And this is how real homeowners or home investors really get into the money and they start playing in the real estate market. But for now, let's focus on how to improve your equity and get you that monthly income. And I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking it's gonna cost way more money to buy a home with a basement and a separate garage and everything. No, actually in a lot of cities, all the areas that I've looked at, you might pay a slight premium to have an unfinished basement and a garage, but a lot of times the prices are very, very similar. And in most cases, for a separate garage, that's not really sought after by a lot of folks looking to buy a single family home because most people want an attached garage. Now, obviously, before doing all this, make sure you check with your local zoning and permitting codes and make sure that you can do all this before you buy it. Just common sense, right? And as always, you know, the more work that you do yourself, the more equity, the more money you make and save. That's supercharged house hacking in a nutshell. But you're probably already saying like, dude, Kai, our market is way different than where you're at. Or my market is so expensive, it's way different than where you're at. It'll never work for my area. I respectfully disagree. Our housing markets are for sure different. But the only thing that's different is the entry cost and the cost of construction. Those will fluctuate all over the board. Whether you buy a Detroit home for $100,000, sorry Detroit, or you buy a San Diego home for $1 million, the concept is the same. It's just how you play with the money. But realistically, if you can't afford $1 million starter home, maybe that's not the best area for you to start. Maybe you move to the city next door to it, or you have to consider going to another city if you really want to do this. Now, with that all said, obviously purchase and buy in an area that you are familiar with and that you know, and then go through the basic real estate fundamentals of buying in a good area. But if you stick to the basics of real estate and you do what I just shared with you, you can make a substantial amount of money, and it's one of the fastest ways for normal people like us to increase our net worth and our income within a very relative short time period. So building and remodeling, as you may know, has always been a big part of my adult life. It's actually the substantial amount of my net worth I was able to create in my 20s and 30s. Now, with that said, you guys know that I've got a big project going on with the shipping container village and the glam site just outside, and I want you to be along for that adventure. So make sure you guys sub if you guys haven't subbed yet, and follow the journey and watch me as I do this on my own with some help with some friends. And if videos aren't enough for you and you want to set up a consultation session, description's down below. If you want to go over the pitfalls, financing, how to get into real estate and investing in short-term income producing rentals, I'm your man. Or if you just want to talk to a bald-headed Asian guy, that works too. I love you all. Peace out. See you next time. Kai out.